on holiday Google Live Hangouts is still with us here. And here we are. It's website one planning meeting now on a Monday, now coming on Mondays instead of Wednesdays. We have Bill, we have Nicola, we have Sam. Let's do that thing that I often do, which is I create a little note tab thing over here and just go around and check what's up with folks. I have actually managed to do some stuff on website one. I guess the key thing I think we did a deploy. And so new things that I think the new devise stuff is out. And I think people are logging in and out and not having a problem. I also adjusted so we have no countdown on the front page. And I don't know if it's a coincidence. This all went out on Friday. There were no performance alerts over the weekend. So that's suggestive that that's been helpful. I need to check it better. I'm currently working on, this is the premium, or I can't spell, premium sponsor data model. And that I've made some progress there, but I think I'm getting stuck on intermittently failing JavaScript, which is the curse of our lives. No. But so that's the stuff that is happening for me in website one. Nicola, I think were you telling me in the Scrum you're working on the
Twitter. Yeah. And one of the things that I remember is that you shared with me chewing the first try that you did to upgrade to Rise 5. And after that, the second, and you were using a different WYSIWYG?
Right.
I don't remember why you changed.
Well, so yeah, this was we tried to use Rails 5 with Mercury, and it didn't seem to work. So like it just the test wouldn't pass, and it was just sort of stuck. And so we kind of like thinking like Mercury, which is, and it's like it hasn't, the repo hasn't been updated for like 2.5 years, and we could have tried to fix Mercury, but also Mercury seems to be involved in a lot of our intermittently failing JS tests, and so we kind of were like, after spending some time on like trying to upgrade Mercury, and like, no, it's not being maintained anymore. We were like, okay, can we set up the Medium on Rails editor, which is a like Medium, the blogging system. They have this lovely
it's really nice. And
we were kind of thinking like, oh, maybe if we switch to this, then that's a way around this. And we didn't get blocked on this per se, just the person who was working on it dropped off. So that's the hit, where we got to.
Nice. Yeah.
Is Medium built on Rails?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
I don't know. You're saying that it's the editor is a Ruby gem or something.
Well,
on Rails.
But I think that the Ruby gem is not the one that Medium is using.
Oh, okay.
The Ruby gem is one that people who've seen Medium and have been inspired by it have then created one.
Okay.
Medium, but it might be Rails Ruby backend. I haven't I haven't checked. Interesting question. I think I did know. I think that it was the people who made Medium are people who came from Stack Overflow and or WordPress. I'm just looking here at like.
I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah, it says to me, I go here. This is a product design. I don't know if this is. I think people are guessing. This is someone saying that based on their info on their jobs page, he thinks the main app is Node.js with Nginx, and they've got a bit of Java in there as well. Yeah, it's looking like it's pretty solid JavaScript all the way down.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's just
it's interesting to look at. Yeah,
nice to know.
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah. So and Nicola, you're working through that. Anything else on your mind? Any other concerns about the project?
Nope.
Cool. So going on to then, so Bill, you in the background have been thinking about the OAuth stuff. But yeah, how are things going there?
I was actually in the middle of just building a demo so I could work out how OAuth is set up with device and that.
Oh, cool.
So that's almost done. Then I was just going to compare it with what Odin project are doing.
Right.
To see if I could actually figure out how to do it their way or some way that works.
Sure.
And try and retrofit that somehow. Change website 1.
Yeah.
Yes. Because was it Odin project used that?
A gem.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, they used the OmniAuth Google gem, yeah. So as far as I know, I don't actually need to change anything on the Google server. Because the API is the contact API and the Google Plus API, so that's all the same. So it's just basically just on the website 1.
Oh, absolutely.
Needs to be changed.
Yes, which is, I think, entirely the intention of the OAuth designers is that you should be able to plug and play with these different things.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if I actually needed to like log onto the Google server and enable a different API or something like that. From what I've seen, you don't actually. I don't believe you need to.
I don't imagine so. Yeah, and it's interesting. This sounds like this is going to be building it from scratch is going to be absolutely wonderful for your understanding.
Yeah, which is another reason why I thought of doing it was a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And there's an extent to which I would I think the way that it is done in website 1 is may have been best practice 3-4 years ago. I mean, then again, it may it is what it is. But either which way, even if it was best practice 3-4 years ago, which I'm not sure if it was, it's it's been all things that happened to it. The best way to do it now may well have changed, so that's potentially very valuable. The one thing I would say is that even after having done this, there's kind of and maybe this is like completely obvious to you and is not even worth saying, but what we have at least with the current system that's in WSO is that it's kind of been battle tested, shall we say. I mean, in that we've had problems with it, fixed it, had problems with it, fixed it, and so on. It might be tempting to kind of like say, all right, having like built a new clean one, to kind of rip out the old one and put the new one in. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't want to go that far.
Okay.
I was just looking to see what sort of lines of code needed changing more than
okay. Then I think you're being eminently sensible. And
I wouldn't be able to go that far. To me, that sounds like a total nightmare.
Well, I think we are in very much the same headspace then, and then that's totally fine. Yeah, sometimes people come in and they're like, "Oh yes, we can just take this and throw it out, and we'll have this whole new thing." I mean, that's sort of what we're doing here with the Mercury and the Medium on Rails, but that's only after we've kind of like pushed on trying to stay with the old one.
Yeah.
Even then, we may find that this actually turns into a complete nightmare, and maybe Nicola can find some exciting way in which to there are many different rabbit holes which one can lose oneself down. Oh, cool. That's great.
I mean, even if I thought of doing it that way, I mean, the Odin project, they're not. It doesn't look like they've actually fully tested, or they haven't been as extensive in testing as website 1.
No.
So I wouldn't even be comfortable to rip out the whole thing and replace it with the setup that they're using.
No, indeed. And
their setup isn't as complicated either.
Yes. Well, one thing I will also say about the Odin project is reviewing the code of theirs that I've reviewed.
Yeah.
I have been impressed with how clean.
Yeah.
Generally, like I think that their data model and everything was kind of easy to understand, and I didn't particularly look through the testing side of it. I was just looking through the structure of the code. So I think it's definitely a great.
That's certainly the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Great resource.
That site is a lot, shall we say, younger, not as old.
Oh, the Odin project.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that I mean they've done a complete sort of rewrite of it.
Okay.
Maybe that's what it is. Is it a rewrite? But yeah, certainly they kind of done a re-release with a it's a different structure.
Yeah.
I don't know when the rewrite started. Actually, it's a good question. I mean, what's sort of slightly galling for me is that it's not what I want to be on GitHub. Is that we started like the Odin project guy, whose name is Eric Troutman. I did some pairing with him actually, and he was
okay. All right, so you know it.
For 4 or 5 years ago. You know, I think we coded together briefly on local support. And
so he's actually on Agile Ventures then.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's been, you know, I was at the beginning, I was, you know, really encouraging Eric to get more involved in Agile Ventures. He was, I think, very keen to start his own thing. Like he was pairing with us on Agile Ventures partly to explore different models of ways of working. I mean, he was a graduate of a boot camp. I think he had this very specific thing of, he was a graduate of boot camp. He then sort of stuck around helping out as a teaching assistant there. But he had this, I think, this vision of doing his own company thing that would be a for-profit rather than a non-profit thing. But he also wanted to have like an open source curriculum. And so, you know, the open source curriculum came with the Odin project. And then he created the Viking Code School online bootcamp. And there's been, you know, over the last 4 years, you know, people who've paired with us in Agile Ventures have gone to go and work with him as a tutor, you know, on his online bootcamp. And people coming through the Odin project sometimes come back to us because they're like, oh, I know I'm looking for an open source project to work on, and so on. It's partly because they're based in. I mean, what I would have loved to have got into a situation where we all collaborated to build the same thing, and we kind of had a global thing where, you know, we were running non-profit Agile Ventures scrums in all time zones. But yeah, we used to have a like Pacific Scrum, which, you know, I think Odin project people would sometimes come to, but yeah, it's kind of the time. I think the time zones involved and so on. We've failed to you know, kind of stick together, if you know what I mean. They've which is fair enough. I mean, I think that they've done an amazing thing. And what's frustrating for me is for website 1, I had been arguing. Oh, I guess I'm showing my screen. I'd been arguing that we shouldn't be trying to build all of our own functionality, like all of our articles functionality and document functionality. I was, you know, like we should like store our data on GitHub and then sort of pull that in. Like we shouldn't replicate the functionality there. But there was resistance to that. What's ironic for me is that the Odin projects have gone ahead and done that, and very successfully, I think, in that they have. So like the Odin project here is their Rails app, which I think, you know, consumes their open source curriculum that's on GitHub. So if you see something wrong with their stuff in the curriculum, and as I'm working through the curriculum of the Odin project with another mob at the moment, you know, as we come up with stuff, we submit updates, and they've been merged in. So I'm a contributor to the curriculum of the Odin project, and you know, they've got this lovely Rails app, and I guess we could just have a look at the commits for the here. But this has been running. Oh, let's really look at the insights. Insights. Can we see the long-term history of the long-term? I thought they used to have like a diagram that would just show you. There we go. Well, that's for like the year. I don't know. I think it's gone through many different phases. But I think that they seem to have managed to sustain. I think partly because they're in a good time zone and they're based in the Silicon Valley area and there's loads of programmers and whatever. But that they've managed to rebuild and build a, you know, update a site which uses a kind of the much more lightweight model that I advocated, and they've done it all with volunteers as well.
There, so where it says contributors.
So if we look at contributors, so you can see
there you have all the list.
Yeah, Eric is there. There you go. And so you can see this goes back to. See, I think that this was, they had a big development, and then, you know, I think it was their version, and then this has been, they've done a kind of a read, and it was, I think this new one has been, you know, it came out, you know, that they've managed this big development to kind of provide a new framework. The particular thing is that you can then tick off how far you've got along in their curriculum.
Yeah.
And you can see that a big majority of it's been done by Eric, but then, so Arun's also involved in our community. He's done a fair bit.
Yeah, I've seen him on Agile Ventures, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So Abby Jones used to do Abby Jones, and that was Bill there. But I think in particular, what I love about what they've achieved is that they've got a framework where anybody can contribute to improve the curriculum, right? The curriculum's on GitHub, but they've also got, you know, if we go to the Odin project site, they've got a nice looking, and relatively easy to navigate. I think easier than our site. I find when it resumes, but if I get in here, I want it to always dump me on this page here rather than the next one. But this framework where they've got here, where you can basically indicate that you've finished things, and you can indicate your progress through their system and their different elements. They've just got a lovely framework here that can encourage ongoing, improvement from a community, and but is based on a simple and straightforward, clean model. I think for the learner, you kind of, it's a bit bare if you're just working from README pages in GitHub, and this kind of like tracking your progress. I'm really impressed with what they have.
Yeah.
And it frustrates me that though,
I didn't quite
that way. Go on.
I didn't quite understand their idea of the Odin project, because I subscribed, but I didn't get it yet. Idea.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think for someone like yourself, Nicola, who's at a relatively advanced level, a lot of this is like kind of trivial stuff for you.
Yeah, because yeah.
That's aimed at beginners.
Indeed, this is sort of aimed at.
So I got bored, like, yeah.
I mean, and in that sense, it's not that the Odin project and Adventures are not competitors, because Adventures, we're very specifically targeted at people who already have, been through a boot camp, people who've already, got a computer science degree, people who've already done some, programming work, and people who want to not learn to program per se, but they want to level up on a new stack. They want to get involved in a team, and so it's like, there's a perfectly valid model to, like, for some people to, like, start from the beginning, a free code camp, Odin project, Code Academy, come through that. When they finish that, if they don't walk straight into a job, which not everybody does, they can, and even if they do, they can come and get involved in Agile Ventures, and start using those skills on real projects with, a sort of a team and a real charity customer and so on and so forth. But what we could really emulate from what these guys have done is, in our getting started stuff, which, we could, like, if we could have our getting started documentation, like the description of how to get involved in Agile Ventures in some kind of similar frame to this, where it was like, okay, this is the sequence of things that you will do. Like, you'll join a project, you will, join a scrum, you'll vote on an item, you'll get, this is your first pull request, and so on, whatever. And you could tick off, right, I'm doing this, I'm sent, like all the things. If we had a nice looking way of, ticking this off and immediately being able to get, like, chat help. I mean, I also love what they have here with Gitter. Like, you can immediately see the community, what they're chatting about there. I mean, they're on Gitter. Annoyingly, Slack, for all its greatness, doesn't provide this kind of like pop-up little view there. But if we could be providing to the people who are landing on the getting started page, kind of a framework of, this is the step one, step through, people would be able to sort of tick off how far they got. Yeah. They'd be able to, everyone who was like seeing problems with words or whatever could contribute via pull requests to improve the getting started documentation, so it didn't fall on like 1, 2, or 3 people to try and make it right. And then then I think that would be like a huge boon to our community.
So nice. I mean, I look at website one and like some like 300 odd issues. Yeah. You're talking about this. I mean, what do you want to prioritize on then?
Well, I mean, personally, yeah, I think my immediate priority, once I've got this, once I've got this premium sponsored data model sorted, my next priority is going to be private events. If only to kind of free up more of my time to do other things. And I say that because, so for example, not this meeting, but all of the mobs. Yeah. At the moment, I kind of need to I'm posting raw URLs into Slack. If we had the private event functionality, I could do it and it would like click through. It would look nice. It would click to join, what have you. I could be storing the videos linked into the site rather than just by YouTube. It'd be easier for you to find like all the videos of the mobs that you'd been in, and people who we could have it set up like, so people who were not premiums, like when they try to access them, it would say, oh yeah, this is premium, and this is how you sign up. And so that would take, it would shave off some time that I waste, administering these things, and make it easier for other people besides myself to administer them. And then it's all about flow through the site, and the priority, independently of fixing all other things, is this, what we were talking a little bit about last week with the the analytics, is can we get it so that of the, like, this is, what's it, the last month,
70%, right?
So
last time that,
yeah, who knows what the values are, but so we can see here in the last month we've had over 850 people land on this page, right? And then I think we lose like half of them almost immediately. People spend about a minute on here. It's like I think this is the key. Like, all of the issues, I mean, there's so many different things that can be fixed. Ultimately, the priority for me this year is, can we just make this is the entrance funnel to the Agile Ventures community. Can we make this so this is, attractive, comprehensible? People are like, really clear what the value proposition is, and maybe that means making changes to the the way the value proposition is communicated on the homepage. Because maybe part of the problem is that, like, what people are seeing here is different from what they thought they were signing up for, so on and so forth. This is going to be the priority this year for me. But at the same time, I think for yourselves looking at issues in the thing, you should feel empowered to work on things that interest you, right?
Yeah. No, I'm just wondering if there was something actually that was more important than all those issues that needed looking at first.
I mean, I think this is the key thing, I would say, because we need to ensure that more people understand what we're about and can take advantage of the value. And I think we're not doing a fantastic job of communicating that value. I think people who manage to get in are like, oh, this is quite cool, I like this. But we need to communicate better. And of those 300 issues that are in the the waffle board, many of them relate to different aspects of that. And they are prioritized to some extent, in as much as, like, so you don't see the priorities when you look at them in the GitHub issues. No. But the waffle board, all of the issues appear in the waffle board, and in the waffle board they're organized somewhat by priority. So arguably anything that's in ready and they're sort of in priority order. So the top of the ready thing is like highest priority. But there's the updating of this. But long story short, like, I think that the core thing is to, try and I mean, this is it's the same is true for all websites that are getting reasonable footfall, which we're getting, is can you get across the value proposition? Can you get the users to take an action which indicates their commitment, and can you then keep them engaged and bring as many into the fold so that they can get the value. I mean, I think the more people we get into Agile Ventures, the more, in principle, the more valuable it comes for everybody involved. But
yeah, but this 50%, are they all landing on this getting started 1 of 7 page? Do they land directly on here, or is it that?
Well, what this is, I would say that the majority of it, well, so if we use the analytics, we can see more of the pathways through the site. We have 10,000 people kind of landing on the homepage, and the homepage, when you're not logged in, has a banner kind of with an action saying, like, sign up. And several of the places that you go to, and not all of them, say sign up. And when anybody signs up, they get redirected to the getting started page. So that's their arrival page, assuming they actually signed up. And so if we look at, and I think I gave you access to this. Bill, very happy to give access to you as well, Nicola, if you're interested. And of course, you know, no pressure to look at this until you're ready. But so we can see, like, in terms of behavior, there's a behavior flow graph, which will default to the last week. So we can see that, look, we get here, this is in the last week. That's indicating we've had like 3,000 people land on the homepage in the last week. And you can see here that, like, you know, the majority of them, 68%, pretty much, they see the landing page and they're like, I have no idea. I mean, who knows what they're thinking, but I would anticipate, like, they're like, and given that the majority of these will be coming in from Google ads saying, you know, level up your coding skills, learn about agile team development, this, that, and the other, you know, 68% are like, the landing page is not working for me. It's not matching. I don't know what to do on the landing page. So there's clearly, you know, you could say, like, well, we can improve the landing page to reduce this drop-off rate, but we're still getting, you know, like, in that last week, what is this? That's like 500 people or more coming through here. And then look, like 256 of them click on the code banner, 157 sign up straight away. And then you can see off the sign up, you know, you end up there getting started. So some people will click on code and then they'll go to getting started. And anyway, so and it's all there to be, you know, experimented with. In principle, we can be doing A/B testing with different landing pages.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the thing. We did this big design sprint in June, and we came up with a different concept for a landing page, and which was like, had more graphics and so on. And we did do an A/B test, and I think, was it try@adventures.org? I think it's still up. When we did an A/B test against, was it try or was it Y? Oh, here we go. Yeah, but so it's kind of this interactive infographic was what we generated at the end of the sprint. And so if you click on there, it's sort of like trying to tell the Agile Venture story, like, here, this is what it's about. And then there's kind of a pathway. It's like, it involves stand-ups, real projects. And I'll put the link to this in here. But so this was like, I don't know if you know about design sprints, but the whole idea is about, you know, you build this thing really fast, and we did like five user interviews and got like feedback from the talking to them about this, that, and the other, and, you know, the graphics went across very positively.
Who were the users?
Say again.
So who were the users? What?
Well, we recruited 5 different people from around the world. I think actually was one of them which didn't show up. It was like 4 of them, and there was like, we had, you know, I think it was 3 different youthful, like 2 were immigrants to the US from Africa who were studying for their Microsoft certification degree. One was background was Indian subcontinent, but in the US, and but, you know, learning computing and programming. And another one was a student at a New York university who already had you know, part-time job coding in JavaScript and so on. So there we were, I mean, I don't know if they were wonderfully representative of, but they were sort of in the demo, you know, we tried very hard to get people that we thought would be in the right demographic. And I think that there was generally positive, and it kind of ends up with, right, this is the thing, and then now sign up now. But when we did the A/B test, basically we were getting almost 0 signups from this compared to the homepage, which I think is probably to do with the fact that it's an interactive infographic, and when you load it, you know, it starts like here with it, rather than just it being like, you know, it was faster that time. But the first time that you hit it, it like does the thing that we built it on, I don't know, Marvel app or whatever it was. I forgot, Insights. Compared to when you go to the Agile Ventures homepage, which is more like a traditional site. the, which people know with the layout and this, that, and the other. Superficially, it was, far more. This at the moment in the A/B test, this is far more effective at getting people to sign up than this.
Yeah.
But the thing I would like to try is, actually taking some of these things and taking some of these graphics and what have you, and maybe redoing this so that rather than this being all just text, that we had those graphics kind of in here, and there was a flow down here, and there was another sign up at the bottom or something. I think there's, it wasn't really a fair comparison of this one, because it's kind of like a clunky prototype. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing.
I mean, there's Marvel app. I mean, I've used that. Marvel, is it?
Yeah, there's Marvel app and there's Insight. I think are the two.
Yeah, I've used them on mobile before, and they are quite slow. But then they're not really meant to for A/B.
No. I mean, they're meant to be for a quick thing, and it was. Like again, if we had like funded engineering time of any significance, the prototype would have been to throw away, and then we would have built it. But then it's engineering resources. But it's still. I mean, again, it's then a question of priorities. But we can with access to this, we can see, okay, like, maybe with the changing the landing page, we can change this so that like 80% of these people are sticking around and going to a second page rather than just 20%. There's we want to tweak the different parts of the system and increase the flow through each so that the number of people ultimately taking part in projects and getting value out of adventures and contributing, to the greater good in the world, goes up and up and up. Yeah.
There's a lot there, a lot to be done.
yeah. So, Nicola,
no, I was saying the same, that there is a lot to be done. Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, I kind of despair sometimes because I think, how can we ever get it? It's like to an extent, it's like take one thing and focus on it. My focus this week is going to be on making sure that the premium data model is kind of fixed up and correct, and that I've got accurate data on everybody who's currently in the premium framework and so on, so that's we need sensible record keeping to like if we are going to have an increase in the number of people in the premium program, then we need good record keeping for that. And then my focus after that is the private events, and then my focus after that will be it's either getting started page or the the landing page, in terms of like making sure that we get better flow through in the different parts of the system. But even the little minor things that might seem like a minor fix, it's like this broken windows thing. It's like they say if you let a thing sit around with broken windows, gradually people are like they end up abusing like a building, right? They end up abusing this graffiti, and then more windows are broken, and then it's like, okay, it all goes to pot. But if you kind of keep it good, so I think even when it seems like there's lots of things to do, just fixing individual issues and like one little thing at a time is also good.
Yeah. It's just good just to get your head around what actually needs to be done, because when you look at GitHub or Waffle, you just see lots of things and you just can't relate it to anything.
No, it's true. Yeah, no, I think the big picture view,
issues, and it's like, what is all? It just gets really confusing.
Well, absolutely, and particularly because we have with GitHub, anybody can open an issue, and so you have all and like you've then what's the relative importance of all the things, and so at some level, you've got to keep what's the big picture, and how do we prioritize the all those different things that we could be doing. It's a good discussion. We've been through all of it, so I guess we don't have out of all this, we don't have any big block. Like neither of you are particularly blocked. Sounds like you're this is I'm really impressed, Bill, that your initiative taking and like building the demo and so on. That's great. And Nicola, you're not blocked. I've got this weird intermittently failing JavaScript, but I don't know that there's much value in us looking at it together now. I'm going to bash on it some more tomorrow. If I can pin something under the microscope, then I'll maybe share it later. I guess what I am excited about is that I guess we might finish on today is that we didn't have any performance alerts over the weekend. Like, so one of the things I did recently was I got, gosh, what's it called? Air brake. Well, I adjusted our air brake configuration so that we would actually receive errors properly, like that we were getting like a very, very, very thin trickle of them, and it was clear when certain things were going wrong. The air brake, which is supposed to be our thing that tells us when stuff goes wrong, was not doing its job. And I think that's specifically because we had another custom error reporting system in there that was kind of like overriding it, and so it was not Airbrake's fault; it's ours. But if we look here, and this is like we've got that's interesting. 1101. Oh yeah, no, this is right. But you can see here, like in particular, so this request timeout exception is I was noticing we were just getting like it was, you know, really big swathes of them.
Yeah, but that was that not over the weekend? Because I saw those on Git.
Well, I think it was. I think if you look here, the last one that we had was on the 11th. Yeah,
then it stopped all of a sudden, didn't it?
Right, and that's on Friday. I mean, I was getting this on. Was it the 12th on 34th? Yeah, so it was the 12th. Basically, it was on the 11th. I was seeing these come in, you know, seeing the big swell and seeing them coming in the day, and I was like, okay, I must. The thing I've been talking about. So what I've done, there, get that out of the way, adventures, and now on the homepage, it actually doesn't look that different. But what I've got here now is it says, want to learn more, listen into our next project review meeting. You notice it doesn't say starting in 2 hours, 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And actually,
you had a counter.
Well, there was a counter there. It was a static counter. When you loaded the page, it would, and the thing that was causing this to be extremely slow is that, particularly because this page is under a very heavy load, right? We get 10,000 people a month, 15,000 people a month landing here from our Google AdWords, is that every time that someone landed here, the Rails server was calculating all of the events, repeating otherwise, for the next 6 weeks, doing all of the calculation for that, and then working out what's the time until the next one.
Was killing it.
And so basically what I've done is I've set up some, I can turn it back on and off. I've set it up so that it can say we can turn off doing that for the homepage. And so this now links to the events page in general rather than the next projects meeting, and it's sort of maybe conceivably more difficult for people to find when is the next projects review meeting, but not that many new people come in the front door, so to speak. So it was kind of like, I think, and you know, it seems like we've got a kind of a bit of a win there. The other thing actually that I mentioned, this was Heroku. We were trying to get Nicola set up with access to these things. They said they found some mismatched params, and so in principle, now we can get you in there.
Nice.
So we might. I was just going to come here. Well, this looks like one. Develop. I want access, don't I? But I was just going to go. We have got like various performance metrics and so on in the Heroku system. Here. So now let's add. Let's see if we can add you here. So Nicola. .s.
Yep.
I've memorized it now. See. There you go. Yay, you're in.
Awesome. Right. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, and so on production now, if we look at the resources, overview. Here we go. There you go. Yeah, so we still at some level kind of have, you know, a memory leak. Some metrics here.
So what causes it suddenly to drop off and start again from the beginning?
That's basically, I think it gets to a certain point and it reboots the system.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So, yeah, I mean, it's still kind of, we still this basic problem that, I mean, even though I've removed that from the homepage, in other pages in the site, it's still doing that. I mean, some of our gems somewhere are, you know, there's there's some sort of memory leak going on, which causes the server to be rebooted about once every, that's down to 24 hours. So I think that's, it's like, since, can I change the...
That's worse performance than a Windows machine.
Yeah, so maybe the garbage collector is letting some objects there and not collecting them.
Yeah, absolutely. The can I change the time scale? Oh, the past 24 hours. Yeah, let's look at the past 7 days. So there we go. So you can see here, this is before I rolled out the change, and you can see that these were going up pretty high, and then after the change, basically the rate at which we've been leaking memory is not as severe. I mean, and then of course it's Saturday and Sunday, so you know, not so busy. And then today it's gone up higher and so on. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, we may turn out. I mean, you can certainly see, like, looking at the response time here, the response time through the day here on Monday. I mean, it's also been a holiday in the US. We'll have to see. You know, I shouldn't. It's easy for me to like, oh yes, yeah, you made a change and it's great. We might find out in the course of the next week that actually it was kind of insufficient. There's a lot more to do. You know, potential. Who knows? Upgrading the rail files. I mean, it seems to me that the key thing. Oh, go on.
Yeah, I think that upgrading not only to Rails but to the version of Ruby that we are using.
Yeah, I think that will probably help. I mean, and maybe simpler than. I mean, the key thing really is that the site needs to sensibly, for all of this event stuff. We're still displaying when the next event is coming up on the other pages. Like if we go to, I think actually not if you're not logged in. Let's see. Oh, it does here. So you've still got this. So going to any other page, it again does this big computational overhead of all of the recurrence relations and everything each time. And I've done kind of analysis, and I can see that that's the gem, and that's where all the memory's piling up.
Okay. If
that could be rewritten such that basically when you edit an event, you then like, you know, that you do that calculation once whenever an event is edited, and you store up to like a time horizon of 6 weeks, you know, the event structure in the database. And then if you update an event, then you change it then. And so whenever you need to look up when the next event is, you only do a read operation. I would imagine that would scale much better. At the same time, if with this small change, the site is kind of stable enough, and you know, I mean, the key thing we've got, so we've got New Relic monitoring, and so this is a one thing. So this is the metrics from Heroku itself, but we've got New Relic monitoring. If I can find it, here it is. And that shows us like more detailed stats. And in particular, it shows us our Apdex score.
This score, yeah.
Yeah, here. Yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely looking a lot healthier than it has. Well, it's lost 30 minutes, but let's put that on 7 days as well. But so this is like giving us a kind of summary over, you know, but you can see here again, look at this. This is last week.
Yeah.
And then this is since the change that I rolled out about then. It's looking a lot healthier in terms of having these not crazy long running things. So the particular thing this is telling us is about measuring on average how many times are your users kept waiting for like longer than 4 seconds on the page, which is kind of like basically if it takes longer than 2 seconds. I mean, it depends on the person. You know, people they used to say it was like 7 seconds, but like basically people just leave. You know, and so if you're you know, it's like we can get by, but a lot of the new people coming in, their first impression of Agile Ventures is going to be a function of how long the first few pages take to load, right?
Yeah.
Independently of what you have on them. And you can see here, look, the events controller index there. Actually, this is all switched around now. This one used to be the top one, right? Because the homepage, that's the homepage, Visitors Controllers Index. That was doing all this event. Now we see, it's when you're going to the Events Controller page, that's, you know, suddenly this is popped up there. But so we could get extra cost savings, we could get improve the performance there. But again, it's like, it's this delicate dance of, you know, all of these things, like where do we try and improve in the different parts of here? Where do we speed up? And, you know, that most important, I think, thing of the communication of how are we letting people know about the value that they can get out of the system, and encouraging them to take actions that enable to get that value. So it's a big fun project.
Well, isn't it worth just stopping those timers on all the pages and seeing what the performance is, and then just enabling one or two that are absolutely necessary?
That's true. That's true. I mean, I have done various experiments like that on staging. I think if we saw the you know, we're sort of running an experiment now, and we'll see what it's like over the next 7 days. I think also for both of you, your sense of the site's, you know, usability, to the extent that you even use it, rather, because Slack, everybody's, you know, works through Slack really. But yeah, we could. I've got another feature flag that I can use to turn these off globally. For having it so that only certain things that's more involved. But yeah, there's, you know, lots of different strategies and things that we can use to try and tweak that and improve that. I think that the key thing, of course, is that we do that in a kind of a measured sense. We make a change, we measure, you know, we see what that is, and then we make subsequent changes, and we try and use sort of a somewhat scientific methods to gradually improve the.
You have our hypothesis, and
right, and hopefully, I mean, in principle, there's a sweet spot somewhere where we kind of really start getting the message across, and, you know, we kind of jump up a level in terms of the number of people who want to get involved and, you know, contribute through the premium membership program, and that makes more funds available, and then we can maybe hire more programmers, and we can get more people involved, and there's, you know, it's more going on. You know, we'll see. I mean, it's I think what's the exciting thing is that with the Google AdWords is that we get here, we've got like a, you know, a site that's got the traffic of a small startup that we might not otherwise have from sort of a grassroots thing like we have, and so we get a chance to, you know, play with the numbers and the framework and so on, do all the things that we would do in a small startup without having to sign an NDA. It's all open for learning and, you know, fun and stuff. So.
Okay. But that counter, did you say it pulls out 6 weeks worth of data or something?
Well,
or it does a calculation or something?
I can show you. And so let me bring that down. So one. So what it is that for the counter to just kind of do anything, it needs to know what the next event is, the next one that's going to happen. And I think if we look through, well, kind of jump through it. So what it has, if we look at the application controller, I think it's in here, Control F, next. What's that? What are you doing? Next. Yeah, so we've got this get next scrum here. So, and we've got like a flag here. I think this is like without the more, I've put some more sophisticated flags in there. Well, I think I've overridden it in one of the in the visitors controller. Is that in the? Let me show you. Yeah. So this is what I added to allow me to turn off the scrum on the homepage.
Okay.
So basically, if this flag is enabled, it's just going to do what this application controller. So the interesting thing here is that like this is every controller in the system. And, you know, very possibly every controller in the system doesn't need to do this. I mean, this is crazily over-engineered, but that's anyway. Well, it's to the extent that if you want the pop-up to be able to display on every page in the site.
Yeah.
But so the default is this. I mean, we can turn that off. This is the feature to turn it off globally. This is the feature here to turn it off just for this page. because this is the highest load page. This is the main landing page, and it just sets it to nil there. So that. But so we can then dive in and we see, right, so the event model, we're asking for the next occurrence of a scrum. We come in here and we've got this next occurrence method, which comes in here. And so I don't know where the time end is. So we've got next scrum collection time passed. It's 15 minutes. That's just like a little thing to help it avoid colliding with the current scrum. So then it does this query, right? Where it queries over all of the events, every single kind of event. We've got like, a couple of thousand kind of events in the system. And it tries to work, it says like next event occurrence with time. And so it's looking for any events that might occur starting from that, this next time.
What version of Ruby are we using?
I think it's, we're currently on 2.3.
Because let me see.
Let's look. It's in the gem file. 2.3.1.
This one, no. This one, no. This one.
So we've previously improved the performance of this by upgrading the Ice Cube gem.
Yeah.
But so you see this next occurrence with time, what it ends up doing is that it's going to call it. It's this whole convoluted thing of like working out next occurrences, and then that comes down to occurrences between, and then this is the thing, right? It's like we've got for the individual event, we can have repeating events. So it's specifying like it's going to happen every Thursday, again and again and again forever. And so we like specify a start and an end time. When I say that, like 6 weeks out, there's some kind of I don't know where it is. There's some kind of constant to say like, what's the range of times that we're going to be looking at? It might not be 3 weeks or 1 week or whatever it is. It's some chunk of time.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we are using map there. No, I lost it.
What I was bringing you down to is that like ultimately there are method calls here that are coming into their schedule.
No, the principal one, the one that.
Yeah, I'll come back to it in a second. I was just saying that it gets down to these are methods that are being called on the Ice Cube gem, and the Ice Cube gem controls the scheduling. But yeah, sorry. Well, I'll try and get back into it again. So if we go in from next occurrence to here, like event with times.
That map that we are using.
Here, yeah.
We are using it that way. We are not how to say. We are not freeing memory. We need to use the. I don't remember the name of this symbol.
The lambda inject.
That.
I need to use map bang map exclamation mark.
Yeah, because but reading this book, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
They say that in that way we are we need to modify the arrays and hashes in place because in that way we are freeing memory.
Yeah. No, I don't know that anybody has ever spent time optimizing this Ruby code for performance. So there may be like really quick win. I mean, I've tweaked some of the queries occasionally, but I wasn't involved in the original writing of this. So yeah. And I've got like a A/B performance load testing system set up on staging. So if you want to put in a pull request for a
train, sure,
like a quick change in there, we can run a load test. And that was how we identified that upgrading the Ice Cube gem gave us like a 20% speed boost. So yeah, if there are quick and simple things. I mean, as I say, like the key thing here is you can see basically there is a Rails query where we get all of the events and then we work over them to like work out all the sequences, and then we have them all together, and then it's like, and then we sort them, and then we end up right. Okay, so this is going to be the next event. So you can see all of this work is being done every time we do almost everything in the system.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So if we could like calculate it kind of like when events are edited, and have it effectively cached in the database, so it only has to be read out there, that would definitely be a lot faster. But that's a fairly big rewrite. And the question is, if we can fix it with some simpler things like the one change that I made, maybe some more like, as Bill's suggesting, we're going to maybe turn off more of the things on some other controllers, or even with like a little tweak to the Ruby, as Nicola is suggesting, then that sort of makes the site more usable. It's okay. Maybe that leads to a bit of an uptick in the number of people coming through here, and then we can focus on the getting started page. Okay, how can we make this better explain to people that this is the steps, and get more of them to take the actions that gets them into scrums and involved in projects and so on and so on.
Nice. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go. It's definitely time for a cup of tea for me, and yeah, I'll be around the rest of the week. See you when I see you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks very much, everyone.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.